Prior to philosophical argument, there existed tales. Before the logicians fashioned their austere geometrical holding cells, there was the liberating song. People did not awaken to syllogisms and deductive reasoning. Their awareness is firstly stirred with myth and mythology. If we were to understand the architecture of thought, we must first descend beneath, way beneath, philosophy's foundation, to that trembling, quaking terrain where the imaginative first attempted to name the structure of reality. Philosophy did not rise ex nihilo. It rose from a resonance, a world populated with forces, genealogies, and cosmic perturbations. Before Socrates questioned the Athenians, before Plato's dialogues and Aristotle's final causes, there were daring poets who attempted to narrate the birth of order's creation. Master among them was Hesiod, whose stories laid poetic foundation to primordial explanation. To modern sensibilities, the value of myth is merely ornamentation, a relic of pre-scientific fascination, and little more. The short-sightedness of the commoner lends itself expectedly to its dismissal via the misunderstanding of its purpose. Myth's first great function was not to help reconcile ourselves with our ignorances, but more to assist us as an instrument to articulate the genesis of creation. It encoded metaphysical speculation in its vast narratives, rendering structure visible through lineage. It dramatizes the primeval forces not yet able to be expressed with normal vocabulary, as with the arts. The earliest cosmologies are not immature fancies. They are experiments in conception. They beg in their queries. How does order arise? Why do hierarchies stabilize? And why does their every succession accompany conflict? Why does authority consolidate? And how does it persevere? These are not theological questions. These are not theological questions. When the poet renders his lyrical verse to the primordial chaos where ordered life springs, they are not filling the voids with their personal ideation. They are reaching to articulate the opposite, actually. Differentiation, the emergence of form from indeterminacy. When the politics of warring gods are given written illustration, we see far more than divine melodrama. Rather, we witness the chronicler's intuitions about authority, its falterings, and its successions. Myth is the dress rehearsal for the play called metaphysics. The transition from the mythic to the philosophical displays a refining of our deductive faculties. The pre-Socratics dispensed with the cosmological narratives, preferring the grounded search for the archai, the elements and flux. Plato assimilates myth into dialectic. Aristotle sought the stabilization of explanations via the systemic, each exhibiting a twin impulse. To account for order sans any affinity for appealing to the accidental. Thus it behooves us to not commence with the great sowing philosophers, but with the prosperous earth from where their philosophies would inevitably reap. That if we were to negate the importance of myth, we'd end up priming ourselves for the erroneous conclusion that reason was somehow self-materialized. We'd forget that the burning desire to fully and truly comprehend precedes any and all methods of comprehension itself. Standing at the dawn of literacy, The poets were never deficient in their want for understanding. They simply lacked the vocabulary that could only come centuries later. When we revisit the ancient texts, we make ourselves available to the examinations of the earliest architectures of Western consciousness. What we are not doing is regressing into the nooks where superstitions foment. That is the trade of religionists, not philosophers. When we revisit the myths and legends of the elders, we are observing the evolution of humanity's attempt to map and build structures pre-cartographical and pre-architectural knowledge. The genealogies traced are not of divine deities, but of human deeds. Their ideas of sovereignty, hierarchy, conflict, and continuity. Civilization begins itself in epic legends and myths, which gives birth to the very philosophers tasked to interrogate their narrative. Sovereignty, in all its forms, commences first by perceiving how such operates. We must ourselves, then, commence at the beginning, not with doctrine, but with origin. And I invite you along the journey, onward and unbowed.